Welcome to another episode of Startup Bytes. Startup Bytes is a show that we do every Friday, and we'll be doing it to the end of June, where we give you 5 tips in 15 minutes. We weren't here last week, but we're back this week, and we'll go all the way through the end of June. Today we have like a modge podge of topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some lead magnets, list growth, new hires, and some other stuff. My name is Keneshia Bjorgvin. I am the program manager here at Startup Tucson, and this is my friend Bjorgvin.
I'm Bjorgvin. I run Audio Issues, an online business in the music industry.
Perfect. Well, I think we should jump into it because we only got 14 minutes now. So let's talk all about lead magnets. Let's start there, and that's tip number 5.
So I would say a lead magnet should not be a super comprehensive, over-the-top solution to a problem. You should solve like a small problem that can give your audience results immediately, because you want like the big problem that you're trying to solve is hopefully your product or your service, and you don't want them to be overwhelmed as soon as they sign up for your email list. So try to find what maybe it's the most common question you get, or something that's really easy to solve if you just know how to do it. Maybe it's a quick tip or something like that. Don't go overboard and think you need to write an entire ebook just to get a lead magnet going. An EQ, a cheat sheet or something like that is way easier.
Yeah, so with your lead magnets, guys, listen to your customers. Take those questions that you're getting from them, turn them into your lead magnet, so then you're pulling more people in with the great advice that you're putting out. Make sure it's valuable and you're giving value, and it's not just crap that you're putting on a page.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and also, and also just give it a snazzy name, like, treat it as if it's a part of your product or your solution in some way. Maybe it's like a part of module 1 of your course or your program. Give it a snazzy name that implies the solution that you're gonna help them with. Maybe it's a checklist or a cheat sheet or a report or whatnot. So
I think top 10, top 5, those names are very people want to see the top 5 things they can do, or the top whatever they can do, especially with checklists. It does really well in Google as well as Pinterest. Totally. So think about that as you're writing your lead magnet. Tip number 4 for lead magnets.
Don't try to overthink the amount of stuff that you need to include in the email and the lead magnet. If you're just doing it for the first time, just do something that fits one page. You can always create another lead magnet. Start with something that is easy to make.
Yes. And have different streams of lead magnets. So start with your first one, and then the next time you put something out, put out something different, but take all of the information you're getting and just create different parts of your lead magnets to bring people in.
Right.
So that brings us to list growth, and that's going to start with tip number 3. What is
calls to action everywhere.
Welcome to the call to action show. Yes.
Yeah. So on my pages, I have calls to action at the top, above the fold. I have sliders coming in once you've read half the page. I have pop-ups. I have calls to action of what to do next at the end of an article. Lead the audience on the journey that you want to take them on.
Yeah, so when you're thinking of your calls to action, guys, first make sure they're at the top of your page and not where you have to continue to scroll below the fold to get to it. But also make sure you're telling them where they need to go and what they need to do next and what they're getting from the actual call to action. So then they can do the things to get them where they need to be. Tip number 2 for this group.
Strengthen your headline copy. So learn some common copywriting techniques to make stronger headlines. Headline writing is a skill. It's one of the most valuable copywriting skills you can have, and copywriting in general is a very valuable skill in order to persuade people to do something. and it needs to be you need to spend some time working on how to write headlines so that you get, a decent conversion rate to your opt-in forms or to your lead magnet and onto your email list.
Yes, think about the headlines that you read that capture your eye as you're writing your next headline, because that will help you to really think about what your customer wants and also put it together. But easy copywriting classes are out there.
Yeah.
Copywriting tips are out there. I'm pretty sure somebody has a 10 tip list for copywriting headlines.
Yeah, there's a reason why every single May you'll find a Cosmopolitan magazine that has a headline that just says 7 steps to a summer body. It's because those headlines work. They are slightly formulaic, but if you tweak them according to your target audience and your niche and maybe your what you are actually offering, it's gonna be unique in its own way.
Yeah, perfect. Guys, don't be afraid to not have a summer body, FYI, because COVID and those 7 steps are not going to help you. So just give the summer whatever body you got.
Yeah. But like if you're checking out at the grocery store, look at the tabloids, look at the magazines, because the headlines that are on the magazine covers are designed to sell the magazine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 7 steps to have a summer body, even during COVID.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And that's actually a formula. The whole even if is a formula, because it's like how to get the results even if you have objections. Like that's the formula for that copywriting headline. So
perfect.
Anyway.
Well, let's jump into new hires, because that's a lot of the questions that we've been getting here. How to, one, hire a new hire, and two, who is the first hire to have as like a freelancer or an entrepreneur who's just starting out?
Okay. I found it very useful when I was overwhelmed and overworked I created a list of every single thing that I do in my business throughout the week. And I came up with about 30 different tasks. And then I created another list of what tasks am I the only person that can do that? So like which tasks can I only do? And I only came up with 5 to 10. So there was 60% of the tasks that I was doing could probably be trained and delegated away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good way to start thinking about what you like how much you're actually how much you actually need to be doing those things, or you can delegate it to somebody else.
Yeah, and then when looking for someone else, look for a virtual assistant, not someone that has us in the office with you.
Right.
I found it very helpful to find a virtual assistant through groups that I was in. How would you say find a virtual assistant?
So I've had a virtual assistant for years now, different virtual assistants, some local. Well, currently I have a local one, but she's still virtual in every way. We shared an office for about a month at an EXO, but at the same time, she could always work remotely whenever she wanted. That there are no rules about needing to be working in my vicinity, because it doesn't matter as long as we have regular check-ins and the tasks are delegated over email. I've used Upwork to find virtual assistants. I've gotten referrals from other people, and I have posted things and gotten sort of word of mouth locally and on Facebook. And that's just how I've gotten virtual assistants throughout the years.
Perfect. So that was your 5 tips. We talked about lead magnet, list growth, and new hires. And now we're going to talk about how to make a statement in your business about your real life and what's going on in the world. And I think, Bjorgvin, you did that wonderfully, even though you had to lose some followers. But I think you did that wonderfully, and I was wondering if you can just share that a little bit.
Yeah, I had a hard time trying to figure out what to say, because I was worried about saying the wrong thing, and so I was a little silent until honestly it was a sort of an inspiration when I woke up one morning and I was like, well, because I have a music production business and I believe that the power of music can change the world. I was thinking about, what are all the Black musicians? What if we never had those? And can you imagine all the music that would have been lost if they would have been lost along the way? And so I started writing about that sort of what if statements, and all in question form in a way. And then it sort of turned into an kind of a poem because the rhymes just sort of started happening, which I let it go where it seemed to want to go. And I felt emotional writing it. So if I took a chance of, like, if this is moving me emotionally, I'm really hoping that it moves somebody emotionally too, even if at the risk of maybe saying the wrong thing inside of it somewhere. Uh, and obviously there are some, anytime you get political in any way, I don't really feel that this should be a political issue, but it is, or seems to be. You always gonna sort of weed the people out of the woodwork that you don't really want to be following your brand and you don't align with. And Seth Godin always says, people like us do things like this. And I think that personally, I have certain values in my brand, which are, positivity and playfulness. And I think that taking a stand in some way, or at least trying to speak out, at least from what perspective I have. And in a way, I was trying to create a unique perspective by mentioning the musicians that, could have not been around. And and that brings out a lot of people that are get angry, and that's fine, because then they delete themselves off of my platform, which is great because I don't want to pay for their emails anyway, because you have to pay for each subscriber on your email list. And but it also it was great to get sort of justified in having at least spoken out, because I did get a lot of replies to that emails, because I did send that to probably over 30,000 people, and a lot of sort of support email or like kind emails came back, especially from, and the ones that were the most powerful were the ones that just thanked me because they were African American musicians on my list, and they appreciated that I was, at least speaking out against it.
Yeah, I think that everybody's worried about what's the right thing to say. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be right. You just have to say something in your own words, in your own way, and no pressure from any of us. But if you're worried about what to say, don't worry about what to say. Just make your statement and make your mistakes. We're all going to make them during this process. Not a new thing. It's just time to embrace the mistakes, embrace the time, and kind of keep it going. So we have covered the 5 tips, the bonus tip for the day. We have a few minutes left. And we have been taking a moment of silence every Wednesday for George Floyd. And we don't have that time to take the moment of silence today, but I did want to make a point that 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It took 8 minutes and 46 seconds for this man to die. In 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a lot could have changed. And I want you to think about your next 8 minutes and 46 seconds and how you can make a small change in the world, in your business, in your life, and how that can change you. I also want to give you a small quote because we're dropping some tidbits from the honorable, incomparable Jermaine Dupri, y'all. He says, take small groups, turn them into big names. We are a small group in Tucson, and we can make big moves here and change things, but it takes one person to stand out and make a change. So as you're going through your weekend, take time, find out who Jermaine Dupri is, listen to his music, and make a difference, guys. Thank you again for joining us on this Friday for Startup Bytes, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See you later.